Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live mid-speed class. We're going to start off with some of the most frequently used words. All right, let me just mute everyone. All right, here we go. Ready? That, I, the, and, to, a, you, of, in, we, it, for, will, is, your, have, are, be, as, not, this, at, but, with, if, on, all, so, was, me, very, my, had, our, from, an. All right, moving into common phrases. And again, you're going to want to phrase as much as possible. This is loaded with whether or not. So WHRORN. All right, here we go. Whether or not he recollected, whether or not he recollects, whether or not he remembered, whether or not he remembers, whether or not he shall, whether or not he should, whether or not he understands, whether or not he wanted, whether or not he wants, whether or not he was, whether or not he will, whether or not he would, whether or not I am, whether or not I believe, whether or not I believed, whether or not I can, whether or not I could, whether or not I feel, whether or not I felt, whether or not I had, whether or not I happen, whether or not I have, whether or not I have been, whether or not I have had, whether or not I know, whether or not I recall, whether or not I recalled, whether or not I recollect, whether or not I recollected, whether or not I remember, whether or not I remembered, whether or not I shall, whether or not I should, whether or not I understand, whether or not I want, whether or not I wanted, whether or not I was, whether or not I will, whether or not I would, whether or not you are, whether or not you believe, whether or not you believed, whether or not you can, whether or not you could, whether or not you feel, whether or not you felt, whether or not you had, whether or not you have, whether or not you have been, whether or not you have had. Right. Names and addresses. All right. Here we go. Ready? A.P. Garg, G-A-R-G, 771 Carywood Way, San Jose, California, 95120. Mr. Charles T. Marvin, M-A-R-V-I-N, Route 1, Box 18, Crandon, Wisconsin, 54520. Miss Paige R. Lucas, L-U-C-U-S, 3848 Wall Boulevard, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70124. Ms. Mary Jo Taylor, Taylor, P.O. Box 87, Route 148, North Ziegler, Illinois, 62989. C.A. Harris, Harris, Distilled Spirits Council of the United States, 425 13th Street, Washington, D.C., 20004. Ms. Belinda Y. Williams, WILLIAMS, 102 North Johnston Avenue, Trenton, New Jersey, 08609. Miss Becky W. Roach, ROACH, P.O. Box 805, Columbia, Virginia, 23038. Miss Leanne M. Fritz, FRITZ, 109 Wolf Street, Walnut, California, 92306. Miami-Dade Community College, South Campus Library, 11012 Southwest 104th Street, Miami, Florida, 33176. All right. I've got some consonant compounds that focus on initial DR. Here we go. Drag lines are used for dredging. He drew the door prize after the dreadful drama. The dragster drove in the drag race at the drag strip. The drifter drank so much draft beer he became drunk. The dreadful dragonfly landed on her dress. The draperies were draped right over the drain pipe. The dray ran over the droopy dead dragon. She wore her new dress to the drive-in with her dreamboat. The driver became drowsy while driving. The drought ended when the dreary drizzle drifted down. The baby dribbled and drooled over his drink. The drab draperies drove her to drink. The dragon used a drake to kill, let me say that again. The dragoon used a drake to kill the dragon. After the rain, her drenched dress drooped. The drunkard drooled when he saw the draft beer. The drone of the drill was louder than drums. Sheila drip-dried her drenched dress. He drank the draft beer because he was dry. Dracula dripped and dribbled blood on the drapes. It was a drastic way to drug the drunk. Talk about a tangle twister there. All right. I've got a number drill here. This is going to be different title numbers and public law numbers. Here we go. Ready? Title 6, 2,376,004,000. Public Law 891, 42,558,322. Title 1, 1,430,587,000. Public Law 874, 51,423,401. Title 5, 2,729,483. Public Law 824, 27,982,238. Title 2, 128,750,000. Public Law 815, 23,947,217. Title 4, 1,452,796,000. Public Law 803, 65,982,238. Title 3, 180,250,000. Public Law 816, 34,985,389. All right, moving into a basic brief review. These are briefs from theory. We have and, satisfy, advertise, receipt, regular, usual, satisfaction. Here are your sentences. Fred and Pete agreed to go. I purchased meat and milk. Ham and eggs go together well. I am a regular fan. Park in your regular space. He is a regular visitor. It pays to advertise. Why don't you advertise for help? You don't have to advertise it all over town. I think a chocolate ice cream would satisfy me. Spices tend to satisfy the taste buds. We hope our merchandise will satisfy your needs. We are in receipt of your message. Be sure to include your receipt. The receipt is sent separate from the bill of lading. It is the usual practice. The usual fee is quite low. We advertise regularly. They demanded accord and satisfaction. His visits were on an irregular basis. The company expressed dissatisfaction with his irregular attendance. Your clock should keep regular time. You should use regular gas. All right. Now I've got another drill that focuses on lose, loss, loose, lost. So let's go over those. Lost, L-O-F-T, loft, as in the kids will sleep in the loft, is L-A-U-F-T. Loose, my tooth is loose, L-A-O-S. Loss, we had a loss and a win. That would be L-O-S. And then we have lose. There's two different ways that you can write lose. You can either write it as L long U-Z, or you can write it as L-O-Z. So because it's spelled L-O-S-E, you either want to write it with the long U, the way it sounds, or the way it's spelled as L-O-Z. So you have a choice there. But sometimes I think students get that mixed up with loose. Loose is spelled L-O-O-S-E. So that is the spelling rule using the A-O. So make sure you don't get those two confused. Okay, I see that a lot. All right, so let's get started with our sentences. Here we go. It was not a great loss to lose that loose fitting. We should not have lost the last one, but we won't lose this one. If we lose this game, it will be the third loss in a row, and we must not lose. It was a terrible loss to suffer, and then he had another loss. I lost my watch at the fair because the band came loose last week. If we lose the new secretary, it will be a real loss to all of us in the company. He lost his wheel when the lug nut worked loose. He is lucky he didn't lose his life. The coil wire on the car is loose, and you should repair it. We lost the bolt because it came loose, and then we lost the nut. We suffered a loss, and another loss, and another. Did you lose the game, or did he lose the game? So if you're kind of going back and forth with which one to use, I recommend the long U, because I hear the long U, even though it's spelled L-O-S-E. I use the long U. I've got it both ways in my dictionary, but I usually use the long U. So, all right. Let's see here. I've got some words that end with G. So ing words, all right? Some are in the same stroke. Some you have to come back for the G. Okay, here we go. Stirring, licking, sharing, sagging, slipping, drumming, betting, grabbing, wiping, tipping, digging, shopping, fading, hoping, spelling, nagging, tugging, naming, taping, shipping, dining, baking, caring, firing, brimming, purring, dropping, letting, filling, lining, grating, patting, skipping, whipping, sliding, dipping, buzzing, topping, hopping, setting, skimming, raining, stunning, running, sledding, fitting, sobbing, stabbing, canning, spinning, rubbing, bedding, fibbing, trimming, budding, cashing, wishing, robbing, shutting, gazing. All right, now here is a paragraph that focuses on ing words. Here we go, ready? His father is raising horses, and some of them are racing at the track this week. The filly is running very well and has a good chance of winning. I am betting on her and hoping that I will be getting rich because she is a long shot. If I do make a killing, I will take you dining and dancing. So I'm going to read that one more time to you. I'm going to pick up the pace. Okay, let me just date this one. All right, so let's do it again. Ready? Excuse me. His father is racing horses, and some of them are racing at the track this week. The filly is running very well and has a good chance of winning. I am betting on her and hoping that I will be getting rich because she is a long shot. If I do make a killing, I will take you dining and dancing. All right. Now I've got some Tangle Tamers. This is our last drill before we move on to literary. All right, here we go. Ready? Applicable law seeks damages, ordinarily reasonable, proven facts, quotation marks, subsequent occurrence, request clarification, criminal case, further action, construe anything, sufficient basis, ordinarily reasonable, request clarification, designated documents, opening statement, reasonable inferences, resulting injury, waive time, jury room door, probably cause. All right. Moving into literary and jury charge. All right, I have some straight matter here. So you are going to hear hazardous, stopping, jump. Remember our MP, FPL, so it's one word. So jump is JUFPL, saves us a stroke. Instead of writing the final M, having to come back for final P. Wheels, condition, driving. Let's see, you're also going to hear surface, slippery, covered, ice and snow. All right, here we go. I'm going to read this once at 120, again at 140, and the last time at 160. Ready? Here we go. Driving can be hard if the road is wet or covered with ice or snow. Stopping distances are increased when these hazardous driving conditions exist. When you are driving under these hard conditions, remember that it will take you longer to stop and that heavy braking may result in losing control of your car. If the surface is slippery, avoid any quick movements of the steering wheel. Slow down, and when you apply the brakes, pump steadily and evenly to avoid locking the wheels. Slow down and allow extra stopping time. It just takes a split second to lose control of your car. So be sure that your mind does not wander. You need to keep your attention concentrated on your driving. You should not be tense, but you should be fully aware that what you are doing is driving a lethal weapon. And just a reminder, you can phrase what you are. WHAUR. All right, so let's do that again we'll do that again at 140. Here we go, ready? Driving can be hard if the road is wet or covered with ice or snow. Stopping distances are increased when these hazardous driving conditions exist. When you are driving under these hard conditions, remember that it will take you longer to stop and that heavy braking may result in losing control of your car. If the surface is slippery, avoid any quick movements of the steering wheel. When you apply the brakes, pump steadily and evenly to avoid locking the wheels. Slow down and allow extra stopping time. It just takes a split second to lose control of your car. So be sure that your mind does not wander. You need to keep your attention concentrated on your driving. You should not be tense, but you should be fully aware that what you are doing is driving a lethal weapon. All right, last time at 160. Here we go. Driving can be hard if the road is wet or covered with ice or snow. Stopping distances are increased when these hazardous driving conditions exist. When you are driving under these hard conditions, remember that it will take you longer to stop and that heavy braking may result in losing control of your car. If the surface is slippery, avoid any quick movements of the steering wheel. When you apply the brakes, pump steadily and evenly to avoid locking the wheels. Slow down and allow extra stopping time. It just takes a split second to lose control of your car. So be sure that your mind does not wander. You need to keep your attention concentrated on your driving. You should not be tense, but you should be fully aware that what you are doing is driving a lethal weapon. All right. I'm going to give you one more. Just a little bit more of literary before we move into jury charge. And this is a continuation of the Navy and nuclear power. All right, here we go. This is on nuclear prototype training. Ready? And I'll start at 120 and work my way to 140. After nuclear power school, you get to put the theory you learned to work while operating real nuclear reactors at nuclear prototype training, either in Ballston Spa, New York, or in Charleston, South Carolina. Here you get experience learning and operating your first reactor plant. This shows you how all the reactor subsystems work together. At the completion of the prototype training, NF sailors receive their first enlistment bonus, if entitled, before going to their first submarine or aircraft carrier. For select machinist mates called MMs, the path will lead to even more training at the Engineering Laboratory Technician School or Nuclear Welder School before joining the fleet. Above or below the surface of the world's oceans, you will be a crew member aboard one of the most modern and powerful warships in history. You will begin perfecting your professional skills on the job. While you learn, you will visit ports around the globe and learn about different cultures, all the time knowing you're ensuing the future of your own country and way of life. Every day will offer new excitement and opportunities for personal growth and achievement. Assignment as a nuclear propulsion plant operator. Enlistment at pay grade E3. Recruit training, Great Lakes, Illinois, 2 months. NFA School, Charleston, South Carolina. Electronics Technician, ETs, 6 months. Electrician's Mate, EM, 6 months. Machinist's Mate, MM, 3 months. Nuclear Power School, Charleston, South Carolina. Thermodynamics, math, algebra, trigonometry, etc. Math review, reactor technology, radiological fundamentals, intro to physics, nuclear physics, reactor operations, rate instruction, 6 months. Nuclear prototype training, Ballston Spa, New York, Charleston, South Carolina. Nuclear propulsion systems, nuclear plant operations, qualifications, 6 months. Qualified nuclear propulsion operator, nuclear field enlistment bonus, STA 21, application accepted. Officer training pipeline, NROTC, Naval Academy, or STA 21, application accepted. Nuclear carrier or submarine, assigned to engineering department of a nuclear powered carrier submarine for nuclear operations, advanced qualifications and training. STAR reenlistment option, first opportunity after 21 months of service. Advancement to E5. Reenlistment bonus amounts for up to 6 figures. Select MMs, Engineering Lab Tech School or Nuclear Welder School program. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to jury charge. The subject here is unlawful seizure. Okay, you're going to hear inalienable rights. Affidavit, you can either write that as AFD or AFT. I would like to write it as AFD. Indictment, D long IMT. Probable cause. Reasonable, RAENL. Let's see, offense, felony. Let's see, reasonably. So I just come back for the long E or AE, either one works. As soon as, S, final NS. Wrongful act, imprisonment, period of time, initial P, final FT. Question of law, KWEFL. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, L long AJS. Humiliation, mortification, public arrest, prosecution, initial PR, final GS, wrongdoer, exemplary damages, wanton, oppressive manner. I think I gave you false imprisonment. All right, and authorized. Here we go. I'm going to start at 120 and work my way to 160. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, one of the inalienable rights of the individual citizen is the immunity from the unlawful seizure and detention of his person by any agency of the state. You are instructed that the general rule of the law is that no person shall be deprived of his liberty except his first, or he first, be charged by affidavit or indictment with the commission of an offense, such charge being followed by a warrant duly issued and placed in the hands of an officer authorized to serve such process. To this general rule, there are certain exceptions made necessary by the needs of society. Among the exceptions is that an officer may arrest a person without a warrant for an offense committed within his view or upon information when he has reasonable or probable cause to believe that such person has committed a felony. When a police officer arrests a person without a warrant upon information, when he has reasonable or probable cause to believe that such person has committed a felony, it is the duty of the officer to take the person whom he has placed under arrest before some court of proper jurisdiction as soon as he can reasonably do so, to be charged with such offense by affidavit, or to be given an opportunity to be released on bond. If the officer fails to take the person so arrested before a court of proper jurisdiction as required by law, or gives him no opportunity to be released on bond, then he is liable to such person in an action for damages. You are instructed that the power of detaining a person arrested without a warrant upon information or restraining him of his liberty, even when there is reasonable or probable cause to believe that such a person has committed a felony, is not a matter within the discretion of the officer making the arrest. He cannot legally hold the person arrested in custody for a longer period of time than is reasonably necessary under all the circumstances without a warrant. Mere loss of freedom cannot constitute imprisonment, even though it was unjust. The imprisonment must be unlawful. One may be acquitted upon the merits of the case or discharged upon some question of law, but that fact does not, in and of itself, make and restraint placed upon his liberty false imprisonment. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you find for the plaintiff, you are instructed that wounded pride, humiliation, and mortification resulting from the public arrest and the public trial are elements to be taken into consideration in assessing damages in cases of this character. You are further instructed that in case of false imprisonment and malicious prosecution, the jury may inflict exemplary damages when the facts so justify. Such damages do not necessarily depend upon malice on the part of the wrongdoer, but they may be rightfully awarded when the wrongful act is willfully done in a wanton or oppressive manner, or done in the reckless disregard of the rights of the complaining party. All right. Let's move into our Q&A. Are we doing on time? Good. All right, this first Q&A that I'm going to give you is strictly plaintiff. I'm going to read it once at 120, again at 140, the last time at 160. Okay. And let me give you a word list. You're going to hear floorboard, Volkswagen, Los Angeles. I like to write that as LANGS. Approximately, Toyota, truck. Description, which you can write as SKRIPGS. Observe, particular. Reference, that can be a squeeze, REFRNS. Refresh, RESH, or RB, RERB. Occupation, allegedly. Incident, I write that as SDENT. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, that's about it. So let's go ahead and do this the first time at 120. Here we go. Oh, let me just do something here. All right. we go. Ready? Officer, what is your occupation and present assignment? Well, I am a police officer for the city of Los Angeles, currently assigned to Harbor Division Patrol. Before taking the stand, did you get a chance to refresh your memory regarding an incident allegedly occurring on March 14? Yes, I did. Can you remember the incident without reference to the report? Yes, I can. Now, on that day, did you respond to a particular location in the county of Los Angeles? Yes, I did. About what time did you arrive there? This was, I believe, approximately 10 o'clock in the morning. What was the first thing that you did when you arrived on the scene? I checked a vehicle which was parked at that location. Was that the Toyota truck? Yes. What was written on the truck, or how was the truck identified if it was? It was a green truck with the words Ace Plumbing written on the front of it. When you approached the truck, did you observe anyone in the truck? Yes, I did. Can you describe that individual? Well, I could give you a general description of what he looked like. Yes, do the best you can. He had sandy blonde hair and kind of bushy eyebrows. He was slender. All right, so let's do that again at 140. Here we go. Officer, what is your occupation and present assignment? Well, I am a police officer for the city of Los Angeles, currently assigned to Harbor Division Patrol. Before taking the stand, did you get a chance to refresh your memory regarding an incident allegedly occurring on March 14? Yes, I did. Can you remember the incident without reference to the report? Yes, I can. Now, on that day, did you respond to a particular location in the county of Los Angeles? Yes, I did. About what time did you arrive there? This was, I believe, approximately 10 o'clock in the morning. What was the first thing that you did when you arrived on the scene? I checked a vehicle which was parked at that location. Was that the Toyota truck? Yes. What was written on the truck, or how was the truck identified if it was? It was a green truck with the words Ace Plumbing written on the front of it. When you approached the truck, did you observe anyone in the truck? Yes, I did. Can you describe that individual? Well, I could give you a general description of what he looked like. Yes, do the best you can. He had sandy blonde hair and kind of bushy eyebrows. He was slender. So I know I gave you Volkswagen in the word list, but it's further on down the line, so we don't really get to that. So that's why you're not hearing that. All right, let's do it one more time at 160. Here we go. Officer, what is your occupation and present assignment? Well, I am a police officer for the city of Los Angeles, currently assigned to Harbor Division Patrol. Before taking the stand, did you get a chance to refresh your memory regarding an incident allegedly occurring on March 14? Yes, I did. Can you remember the incident without reference to the report? Yes, I can. Now, on that day, did you respond to a particular location in the county of Los Angeles? Yes, I did. About what time did you arrive there? This was, I believe, approximately 10 o'clock in the morning. What was the first thing that you did when you arrived on the scene? I checked a vehicle which was parked at that location. Was that the Toyota truck? Yes. What was written on the truck, or how was the truck identified if it was? It was a green truck with the words Ace Plumbing written on the front of it. When you approached the truck, did you observe anyone in the truck? Yes, I did. Can you describe that individual? Well, I could give you a general description of what he looked like. Yes, do the best you can. He had sandy blonde hair and kind of bushy eyebrows. He was slender. All right, so let's go ahead and do some for voice. All right. This is going to start with the court. This is a court transcript. Okay. I'm going to start at 120 and work my way to 160. People versus Sean Thomas Myers and Heidi Mae Patterson. Kurt Mason for the people. Susan Sanders, specially appearing on behalf of Rick Smith for Ms. Patterson, present in custody, coming before the court, and Brandon Waltz on behalf of Mr. Myers, Your Honor. He's present in custody before the court, seated behind me. This is the time and place set for the preliminary hearing. Are the people ready? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Waltz, are you ready? Ready. Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Sanders, are you ready? Yes, Your Honor, I'm ready. Any motions before we begin? Exclude and join. Motion to exclude witnesses is granted. People would move to designate Deputy Salmon as the investigating officer. Can you spell the last name for the record, please, Mr. Mason? Salmon. Deputy Salmon will be deemed the investigating officer on behalf of the people. Mr. Mason, you may call your first witness. People call Deputy Ramos. Do you solemnly state that the evidence you shall state in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please state your full name for the record, spelling your first and last name. Mark Ramos, Markramos. You may inquire, Mr. Mason. Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Deputy. Good morning. What is your occupation? I'm a deputy sheriff with the Oxnard Sheriff's Department. How long have you been a sworn peace officer in the state of California? 9 years, 5 months. What was your assignment in September of 2011? I'm assigned to the Narcotics Division, CalMet. Just briefly give us your background, training, and experience relating to narcotic investigations, specifically methamphetamine and manufacturing. Now you're going to hear a lot of those words, methamphetamine. So methamphetamine, I usually write it twice, meth. If it's just meth, I write it one time. So that's how I distinguish the two, and I have that in my dictionary that way. All right, otherwise methamphetamine is going to be about 4 strokes, okay? I attended our basic academy through the Sheriff's Department, training while in the jails, encountered numerous individuals who brought either controlled substances into the jail facilities, and while on patrol, well over 300 of encounters with methamphetamine, everything from sales to use. So you've encountered methamphetamine several hundred times? Yes, sir. Were you on duty on September 10th, 2011, approximately 4:30 p.m.? Yes, sir. Did you assist with a search warrant at 5025 Kyle Road? And for the record, that is spelled Kyle Road in the city of Oxnard. I did. Is that in the county of Los Angeles? Yes. Your Honor, I would make an objection to the deputy's testimony. I don't have any discovery of a report from him. There is no report from him. He's referenced in, I believe, Deputy Salmon's report and Detective Hogan's report. And Ms. Saunders or Sanders and Mr. Waltz, do you have Deputy Hogan's report and Deputy Salmon's report? We have Salmon's. Is that what he's going to be testifying off of? He will be testifying. Well, we will object. The proper discovery wasn't turned over. We can't rely on what Deputy Salmon wrote in his report regarding what this witness will be testifying to. May I be heard? Yes, you may. We have witnesses testify all the time to what they told somebody else, which is exactly what he's going to do. At this point, I don't see any objection as to why Deputy Ramos cannot testify. He was at that location. Subject to further objections to Mr. Waltz and Ms. Sanders, based on the questions and answers, it's not required that Deputy Ramos write a report in order to testify, so the objection is overruled. Deputy Ramos, what was your assignment on that particular day during the service of the search warrant? I was to assist with entry and securing the scene, and then once we secured the scene, I assisted in the search. And what area did you search? The living room. What, if anything, did you find in the living room? I located a quantity of methamphetamine in a cabinet area, which was in a coffee filter. Objection as to the term methamphetamine lacks foundation. Sustained. Motion to strike. It will be stricken. If you want to rephrase the question, counsel, I'm going to get some later testimony to confirm what it was. Did you find something you suspected to be methamphetamine? Yes. Objection leading. Overruled. Could you describe what it was contained in? The meth. The suspected methamphetamine was in a coffee filter, and the coffee filter was in a plastic drawer bin in a cabinet in the living room. Now, is there anything unusual about this suspected meth versus other meth you've observed or found? Yes, I found this methamphetamine to be wet and smelling of acetone. Anything unusual about the coffee filter itself? Yes, there was a yellow ring about halfway up the coffee filter, as if it had been wet, like a watermark, if you will, on the coffee filter. What color was that? Yellow. What was the approximate weight of the? I don't know. Okay. Did you process that, or was that turned over to somebody else? That was turned over to the investigating officer, which was who? Detective Salmon. Okay. And did you find any acetone in the same area, or was that found somewhere else? I believe there was a bottle located in the living room. I'd object. It's speculation, obviously. Sustained. Motion to strike. I have nothing further. It will be stricken. Counsel, how long were you at the location before you made entry into the house? I don't know, sir. I'm asking you how long you were at the location. Before we made entry into the house, sir? Right. I don't remember how long we arrived on scene before we went in. Okay, could you give us an estimate of how long? I would guess 30 minutes, sir. Let me ask you this. Isn't it true that you arrived on scene and you remained outside of the residence for a good period of time before making entry? I went inside and outside of the house several times. I'm asking you a specific question. When you arrived on scene, isn't it true you remained outside of the residence for a pretty significant amount of time before making entry? You didn't show up, get out of your car, walk to the front door, and go into the house? Correct, sir. Okay, isn't it also true When you arrived, Mr. Myers was not home at the location. I don't know where he was located, sir, or if he was home during the time. Okay, when you arrived on scene, did you notice Mr. Myers there? I did not see him. Okay, when you went into the house, did you notice Mr. Myers there? I did not see him in the house. Okay, when is the first time that you saw Mr. Myers at the location after you arrived on scene? I believe he was outside in front of the garage area. Okay, and about how long was that after you arrived on scene? Guesstimation, sir, 30, 40 minutes, best guess. Do you know where Mr. Myers was coming from? No, sir. Did you talk to Mr. Myers at any point? I don't recall, sir, speaking with him specifically. Okay, did any other deputies make entry into the house before you? I believe so, yes, sir. Okay, about how long did they go in before you went in? Again, sir, it would be speculating, 15, 20 minutes. Okay, and you were the person who found this suspected methamphetamine in the coffee filter, right? Yes, sir. And you are sure Mr. Myers wasn't in the house when you initially made entry into the house, is that right? When I went in, no, sir, he was not in there. And he wasn't in the house when you arrived on scene, right? To the best of my knowledge, correct. Okay, when the sheriff's department executes a search warrant, isn't it true you would arrive, announce your presence, and clear a house prior to making any kind of search? Yes, sir. I mean, you wouldn't just go in and start searching without knowing if there is somebody hiding in a bedroom or somebody standing in a kitchen, right? That's correct, sir. You're going to clear the house first, right? Yes, sir. So your search began after the house was cleared, right? Yes, sir. And during the clearing of that house, Mr. Myers was not located in the residence then, right? Correct. You knew the house was clear when you went in, right? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. I have nothing further. I'm sorry, just a few more. Okay. Deputy, when you did the search to clear the house, was Ms. Patterson inside the residence? No, ma'am. Was the first time that you saw her the same time that you saw Mr. Myers? No, ma'am. Okay, thank you. No further questions. Mr. Mason, anything further? No, Your Honor. Thank you. May this witness be excused? Yes. Thank you. You may step down. People may call their next witness. People call Detective Hogan. Do you solemnly state that the evidence you shall state in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, I do. Please state your full name for the record, spelling your first and last name. James Hogan, Hogan. You may inquire, Mr. Mason. Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Detective Hogan. Good morning. What is your occupation? I'm a detective for the Oxnard Sheriff's Department. How long have you been a sworn peace officer in the state of California? Over 19 years. What's your current assignment? I'm currently assigned to the Narcotics Division, assigned with the K-9. How long have you been working just narcotics? Over 6 years. Could you briefly describe your background, training, and experience relating to narcotic investigations, more specifically methamphetamine labs? I have over 600 hours in advanced training in narcotic-related fields, including possession, possession for sales, transportation in compartments, also methamphetamine labs and chemicals. Approximately how many methamphetamine lab investigations have you been involved in? Approximately 7 or 8. Now, on this particular date, you were called specifically for a potential methamphetamine lab, correct? That's correct. You weren't there during the original execution of the warrant? That's correct. You arrived sometime later? Yes. And we are talking about September 10th, 2011? Yes, I believe so. Okay, and on Kruger Road in Oxnard? Yes. Now, I don't need a whole thing, but just briefly an explanation of the methamphetamine processing or the process and manufacturing. Well, the first stages is pseudoephedrine, iodine crystals, and red phosphorus. And there's various types. You've got to keep in mind, there's various ways of doing this. You add it with the water, you then filter off the red phosphorus, you then add red devil lye or caustic soda, then you add the Coleman fuel or heat or acetone, depending on how you are doing it. Then that gives you a bi-layer liquid. The solvent will be on the top. You need to get rid of that. Once you get rid of the solvent, then you make a gas generator, which is usually made with rock, salt, and acid, and that makes a gas. You put that in the liquid. That's got the liquid at that time, the liquid methamphetamine. And then basically with the gas generator, the meth will crystallize and fall to the bottom of the liquid. Now, at that stage, when it falls to the bottom of the liquid, what's the typical color of it? Anywhere from off-white to brownish to a white color, depending on the way they processed it. Now, how do you get it to be clear white or that very crystallized substance? Depending on how it comes out, they usually take acetone and a coffee filter, and basically they use the acetone to clean the finished methamphetamine to give a better look to it or to crystallize it up, or on the streets, ice. That's the last stage of the processing. Yes. Now, why would somebody try to make it crystallized or more white? People don't want to buy dirty meth. They want it to be, clean. Now, when you were called out on September 10th, what items did you observe that were consistent with a methamphetamine lab? I just located a few different chemicals, but what really attracted my attention was the coffee filter that had the off-white crystal substance that was damp. And did you speak to Deputy Ramos about that particular item? Actually, I believe I spoke to Deputy Salmon. I have nothing further, Your Honor. Mr. Waltz, about how long did you arrive on scene after the initial search was conducted? I would have to guess, but I'm thinking it was like an hour to an hour and a half. Okay, and when you arrived, the suspected methamphetamine in the coffee filter was dry. Isn't that correct? No, it was damp. How about the coffee filter? What was that? Was that dry? I believe that was the same question you just asked me. Well, the methamphetamine, there was methamphetamine in a coffee filter, right? Yeah, that was the damp thing. Okay, the methamphetamine was damp in the filter. So the filter was damp also then? Yes, I'm just trying to clarify. And you believe you arrived an hour to an hour and a half after the search began? I'm not sure without looking at the log. Okay, how long? You seem to have some experience or some knowledge about this. If somebody cleaned methamphetamine with acetone, approximately how long would it take for the product to carry or to dry if it was sitting in a coffee filter? I have no idea how long it would take to evaporate. Was Mr. Myers there at the house when you arrived? Yes, he was. Okay. Do you know how long Mr. Myers had been there? No, I do not. Where was Mr. Myers located when you arrived? I believe he was out in the front yard. All right. That concludes our live mid-speeds class. Have a wonderful day.